The Caitlin Clark injury situation is officially a mess because not only is there not more clarity, there's more confusion about what her timeline could be. And that's coming on the heels of it seeming to be pretty clear when Clark would return to the court, or about when she would return to the court. It was said on the ESPN broadcast on August 12th that Stephanie White hoped Clark would be back in practice this week. Open portion of practice, Clark is not seen. And Stephanie White afterwards said it's status quo until Clark is back at practice.
It looks like Stephanie White and the Indiana Fever front office just attempted the worst cover-up in WNBA history, lying in plain sight about Caitlin Clark's injury and praying nobody would notice. Spoiler alert, fans noticed. And not just noticed. They've got receipts, timelines, and footage that blow holes in the official story. What was pitched as a clean, simple workout mishap now looks more like a full-blown deception. And when you start misleading fans who buy tickets, watch broadcasts, and spend money on merch, you're not just telling a bad story. You're potentially walking straight into an investigation for deceptive consumer practices.
It's getting crazy. It's getting spooky real fast. Very, very fast. I told y'all, people have had enough. All of y'all in the Indiana Fever organization who have been lying about this girl injury, not being transparent, and all these things that the fans are feeling, the fans are speaking back. They do not appreciate it. They feel scammed, they feel lied to, and they feel used.
This isn't a small PR slip. It's a credibility meltdown. White went on live TV, smiled for the cameras, and rolled out a neat little script about Clark's timeline. The problem? The dates don't add up. And when your dates don't add up, fans will tear you apart. It's 2025, receipts live forever, and people aren't going to just nod along anymore. Do you still trust the Fever when it comes to injury reporting? Let us know down in the comments below.
Urge DOJ and FTC to investigate WNBA's misleading practices. Wow. So we are here now. And what's crazy about all of this is that, guys, this is I'm not going to come on here and say that they're going to lose, because if there was an investigation going into this team, they're not going to lose this investigation. Oh, they're going to win. Whoever is representing Caitlin is going to win.
Let's rewind. Caitlin Clark injured her groin back in mid-July after taking a reckless knee from J.C. Sheldon. The injury was described as day-to-day, with talk of ramping up practices before a hopeful return in late August. Sounds normal enough. But as we got closer to that return date, suddenly, magically, another injury pops up. The official line? Clark supposedly got hurt during a workout on August 7th. Nice, tidy, and PR-friendly. Except one problem. Fans have footage from that exact day showing Clark strolling through Phoenix looking smooth, unbothered, and absolutely not injured. Something smells fishy here.
Well, what changed? Right? I know there's never been a direct timeline, but all the signs seem to point in the direction of Clark returning soon. Even Natasha Howard saying, "See you soon, Cece." Now it's like, wait and see. And there's further information coming out that Clark suffered a bit of an ankle injury in the midst of her recovery process. Did that hinder her return? One reporter saying yes, another reporter is saying no. Bottom line is, we need to know a little bit more. We don't need Caitlin Clark's in-depth medical report, but it's fair for fans to wonder if the Fever and the league's biggest star is going to return to the floor this season, or what the chances are. And she's been out of action for 5 weeks, so it's not as if some patience hasn't been expressed.
Instead of admitting the timeline didn't make sense, White and her PR crew doubled down, and that's where the clown show went from embarrassing to insulting. Fever reporters, who should be reporting facts, went on air laughing as they retold Caitlin's unlucky injury story. Not nervous laughter, but actual chuckles, as if the league's most important player being sidelined was a punchline. Think about that. The face of women's basketball gets injured, ratings tank without her, and the media covering it treats it like a comedy sketch. Fans weren't just confused, they were furious.
The Indiana Fever's got $1 billion entity on their team. $1 billion damn dollars. and they're a bunch of clowns, a bunch of bozos. You guys look completely incompetent and unprofessional. The way this has been handled, oh, it's a joke. It's a joke. Look, and look, they can't say anything about conspiracy theories. You're complicit in creating them because you won't be open and you won't be honest.
This is why Fever credibility is an absolute free fall. Spinning narratives is one thing. Teams do it all the time. But flat out lying to your own fan base and grinning while doing it? That's not just dishonest, it's disrespectful. It's the franchise basically saying, we think you're dumb enough to buy this. Newsflash. Fans aren't dumb, and social media receipts don't expire. People are piecing it together in real time, and the more they look, the uglier it gets.
You got this video right here that a lot of you have already seen. I just saw it in the last couple of days of Caitlin getting stepped on by a coach right there on the left.
Stepped on by the coach, and I think she's going to be all right based upon the grin on her face. But
the left foot, the one that's got the issue, she got stepped on. And today, I'm not even going to say Indiana Fever fans, Caitlin Clark fans are crashing out at a different level. And I don't blame them. I don't.
And here's the kicker. They're trying to bury the real incident. Fans haven't forgotten that infamous game where assistant coach Breon January literally stepped on Caitlin Clark's foot. That moment didn't vanish. It just got buried under this workout injury fairy tale. Which is it? Did Caitlin suffer a freak accident in a private gym? Or was she actually injured by the very staff that's supposed to protect her? Because if it's the latter, this isn't bad luck. This is negligence. And negligence tied to misleading public statements? That's exactly the kind of mess that invites an investigation, not just by the league, but by sponsors and watchdogs who don't tolerate consumer deception. Meanwhile, Clark herself is caught in the middle, forced into the Fever's PR spin cycle. Every time she speaks on her recovery, it's the same robotic lines. Working hard, feeling good, just unlucky. Fans know Clark. That's not her voice, that's a script. A script that sounds like it was drafted by a Fever intern trying to stop ticket refunds. The timing is too neat, the messaging too controlled, and the authenticity completely missing.
This practice isn't just disappointing, it's deceptive. Fans invested their hard-earned money in tickets, streaming packages, and merchandise under the belief that they were being given honest information. Instead, it appears coordinated efforts were made between the league and team communications to present a facade of hopeful updates, masking the true status of a beloved player's injury.
And here's the insult that fans can't ignore. Clark isn't a rookie anymore. She's in year 2, the most valuable player to the league's survival, and she's already earned every ounce of that spotlight by selling out arenas coast to coast. Yet the Fever are treating her like a pawn they can shuffle around with lies. If this happened in the NBA, say a coach hurt LeBron James or Steph Curry, and then lied about it, there would be investigations, firings, and nonstop ESPN coverage. But in the WNBA, silence. Just reporters smirking along like unpaid interns for the team. The Fever's credibility isn't just dented, it's shredded. And Stephanie White is at the center of it all. This isn't just bad optics, it may actually cross the line into fraud. Selling tickets and hyping broadcasts around Clark while knowingly misleading fans about her condition is deceptive consumer practice. That's the type of thing that gets lawyers involved, that makes sponsors panic, and that could lead to investigations the Fever absolutely do not want.
Goes on to say fans felt excited when they purchased tickets, believing they'll watch Caitlin Clark shine on the court. However, that excitement turned to disappointment as misleading injuries kept fueling false hopes that she had played the WNBA. And hold up. Damn, is they finna get her for line? Is they finna get her for line to the fans? Oh my God. Hold up. The WNBA and Indiana Fever Indiana Fever have repeatedly engaged in what seems to be a strategic ploy to drive ticket sale and merchandise sales by suggesting that Caitlin Clark's return was on the horizon. holy ish right now, bro. Oh my God, it's about to get red.
And here's the spiciest theory making the rounds. Maybe this wasn't incompetence at all. Maybe it was intentional. Think about it. Clark came into the league like a tidal wave, shattering records and pulling in fans who had never watched the WNBA. Almost immediately, the narrative shifted. She's too skinny. She needs to bulk up. She's not ready. So what happens? She's pushed into rapid muscle gain, her body breaks down, and suddenly her second year is clouded by injuries. That's not coincidence, that's mismanagement. And when you connect the dots, all arrows point back to White and her staff.
I feel like they were lying about her injury as far as like the severity of it. I think it's a really bad injury. I think when they rushed her back that one time, I think she hurt it even more and it pushed the timeline back.
Trying to come back and come back quickly. She needs to make sure that she's 100%. The competitor wants to play. We're prioritizing her long-term health and wellness is the most important thing.
As bad as it might sound, I think it might be like a season-ending level type of injury, and they're hoping to get in the playoffs and they can somehow get her during the playoffs.
Fans are already saying Clark should leave the Fever's medical staff behind and go back to Iowa doctors she can actually trust. And who can blame them? If the front office is lying about when she got hurt, what else are they lying about? Are they downplaying the severity? Are they planning to rush her back early to cash in on ticket sales? These aren't wild conspiracy theories. They're logical questions when the franchise refuses to give straight answers. The silence is deafening, and it screams, cover up. Stephanie White really thought she could step up to the podium, smile for the cameras, and spin this workout injury story like fans were clueless. But the more she repeats it, the more cracks show. And every time she doubles down, she torches her own credibility and drags the Fever deeper into scandal. Instead of protecting Caitlin Clark, White has turned her into the centerpiece of a potential investigation.
And the craziest thing about this last groin injury with Caitlin Clark is how it's been covered. The day after she had the groin injury, she was listed as day-to-day. And then a couple weeks after that, then she was listed to being out indefinitely. Now, ESPN had August 12th as the circled return date for Caitlin Clark to get back onto the court. And just yesterday, she was listed as a game time decision for today's game against the Dallas Wings. And then after practice yesterday, Coach Stephanie White basically came out and said, like, no, Caitlin Clark hasn't even been practicing. So they changed it from a game time decision to her being out.
And Fever fans, they're done. They've watched Clark take hard fouls, eat elbows, get ignored by refs, and now they're watching her be mishandled by her own organization. Imagine being the most hyped women's basketball player in decades, selling out every arena, breaking TV records, and your reward is being lied about when you're hurt. That's not mismanagement, that's malpractice. And if the Fever keep this up, they won't just regret it, they'll get investigated for it. Here's why this scandal stretches far beyond Indiana. Caitlin Clark isn't just another player, she is the WNBA right now. She's the engine powering everything: ticket sales, ratings, sponsorships, even mainstream media coverage. Her presence sells out arenas coast to coast, her highlights drive national broadcasts, and her name keeps corporations writing checks. Remove Caitlin from the equation, and the ripple effects are immediate. Attendance dips, ratings collapse, and sponsors start looking for the exit. That's why Stephanie White's little cover-up isn't just bad PR, it edges dangerously close to consumer fraud. Think about it. If fans are buying tickets under the impression Clark might play, when the Fever already knows she won't, that's false advertising. That's not speculation. That's exactly the kind of deceptive practice that sparks legal investigations.
This has been all over the place, and I get it to a certain extent. The fans, the media does not need to know every little thing that's going on with Caitlin Clark's injuries, especially a star player like that. We will never know all the information, nor should we know all the information, and that's actually good for Caitlin. It protects her for when she does come back on the court. She can't be targeted. Teams can't use a certain injury or ailment against her if people don't really know what is going on. But the reporting of her timeline in general, there has been no rhyme or reason to what has been shared about it.
And let's be honest, the timing couldn't look shadier. Just as Clark was heating up, dragging the Fever out of irrelevance and igniting league-wide buzz, suddenly she's sidelined under a vague, unbelievable timeline. The Fever's momentum stalls, the team spirals, and the hype vanishes. Whether intentional or not, That's sabotage. And instead of keeping quiet, White went on camera and spun a fake story, making the backlash 10 times worse.
WNBA, y'all have to figure it out. The people have had enough. I'm going to let you know exactly what I'm talking about. This thing is picking up steam, and it's a bad look. It's a bad look. It's a bad look, all because you guys refuse to be transparent about Caitlin Clark injuries and injuries around the league.
But this isn't just about one bad lie. It's part of a pattern. Since Clark entered the league, she's been disrespected at every turn. Officials swallowing whistles while she gets hacked, commentators nitpicking her like no other star, jealous opponents targeting her with cheap shots, and now her own coach adds deception to the pile. To fans, it looks coordinated, almost like the league is terrified of her stardom and wants to dim her light. But here's the irony. Every cheap shot, every whistle swallowed, every lie only makes her fan base louder, more loyal, and more determined to protect her.
Look, anybody who saw this could have maybe thought something was up. Breanne January stepping on Caitlin Clark here. August 9th. Left ankle. That's where the bone bruise supposedly happened. On August 7th, which is what is being shared now. And, you know, some of these things you hear rumblings about, and you don't know exactly what's going on.
Still, let's not sugarcoat the risk. Caitlin Clark is human, not a machine. Every mishandled injury, every rushed return, every shady media spin cuts into her career longevity. That's the nightmare scenario here. The WNBA's biggest star being broken down before she even hits her prime because her team couldn't be honest or careful. And if that happens, the backlash won't just be harsh, it'll be historic. Stephanie White won't just face fan anger. She'll wear the blame for damaging the very player carrying the league.
Lawsuits. Fans, y'all, we might have a case here. We might have a case to sue not only the Indiana Fever, but the WNBA for misleading us, having us thinking Caitlin Clark was going to come back, because we all remember when Stephanie White was on ESPN, she stated Caitlin Clark was on her way to come back and practice and get ready to make a return of a lifetime to the Indiana Fever. Oh, yeah, she said that when around the 12th. Well, judging off your sources, if she got hurt around the 7th, you knew prior to you going to ESPN that Caitlin Clark wasn't coming back when you said she was going to come back. You're lying. You're lying and you're misleading, and it's looking real spooky. And I'm happy the fans are standing up.
And White has already guaranteed regret. By lying, she didn't cover up an injury. She lit a fuse. Now fans are dissecting her every word, piling receipts, and exposing contradictions. Reporters outside Indiana are circling, and once national outlets dig in, this story will explode. And when that happens, the Fever won't just be dealing with angry fans. They'll be dealing with sponsors backing out, media scrutiny they can't control, and potentially even regulators poking around. Because let's be blunt, this isn't just sloppy optics. It could be illegal. If you sell a product, tickets, broadcasts, merchandise, off the back of a superstar while knowingly misrepresenting her availability, that's consumer fraud 101. Watchdog groups and regulators don't play around with that. Once the words fraud or false advertising hit headlines, the Fever could be staring down fines, lawsuits, and sponsors demanding answers. And the tragic irony here? Caitlin Clark knows. She's too sharp not to. She knows the dates don't add up. She knows the talking points sound scripted, but she's trapped, forced to smile and nod because calling out her own coach mid-season would get her branded difficult. She's being silenced in her own story, and that's the most heartbreaking part.
All right? People have been trying to stay invested because the GOAT was supposed to be coming back. I mean, seriously. So let's just take a little of the temperature in the room. I'm not happy with the Fever front office and their fan communications. I have tickets I paid for months ago to go to next Tuesday's game. I have airline tickets. I have hotel, restaurant reservations made.
So where does this go? Two paths. Either the Fever admit they botched this, come clean, and finally treat Clark like the franchise cornerstone she is. Or more likely, they keep lying, fans keep stacking receipts, and eventually the entire thing detonates. And when it does, Stephanie White won't just regret lying, she'll regret underestimating the power of Clark's fan base, the reach of the media, and the possibility of an investigation that could shake the WNBA to its core. Because if this deception sticks, the Fever aren't just staring at angry tweets. They're staring at a nightmare scenario. Investigations into deceptive consumer practices. If fans paid for tickets expecting Clark to play when the team knew she wouldn't, that's grounds for lawsuits. We're talking class actions, fines, even sponsors pulling their money until the Fever and the league clean this up. And make no mistake, sponsors won't tolerate this. They invest millions in Clark's star power, not in a team spinning fairy tales about her health. If they smell fraud, they'll walk, and they'll take their money with them.
I am devastated that Sophie Cunningham is now out, and I would like to know if Caitlin Clark will be playing. It's not too much to ask. The Fever need to be more transparent. Absolutely. Absolutely. I shared that. A lot of fans are in this exact situation. Come on. If Caitlin Clark is gone for the year, it's time to show a pair and admit it. Admit it. I got to tell you guys, it's time to go to Fever social media and began demanding, is Caitlin Clark coming back this year or not?
And don't think the league office can hide. Once national media starts hammering this story, Kathy Engelbert and the WNBA brass will have no choice but to act. That could mean independent medical reviews, stricter injury reporting, or even a league probe into how the Fever handled Clark's situation. The second you hear league investigation, you know the scandal has gone from bad PR to full-blown crisis management. At the heart of it all is trust. Trust between fans and the Fever. Trust between sponsors and the league. Trust between players and the front office. And right now, every lie about Clark's health erodes that fragile trust. Once it's gone, good luck rebuilding it.
The pattern of communication between league officials and team medical reports raised concerns of coordinated misrepresentation rather than independent, factual reporting. The coordinated messages suggest an underlying intent to protect revenue streams at the expense of fan loyalty and trust. Economic harm has been inflicted on countless fans who, based on false pretenses, spent money they have not otherwise parted with. They might not have otherwise parted with if they had known Caitlin Clark wouldn't be taken to court.
The bottom line? Caitlin Clark is the face of women's basketball, the brightest star the WNBA has ever had, and she deserves honesty, protection, and respect. The lies surrounding her injury aren't just sloppy, they're dangerous. They threaten her career, the Fever's reputation, and the league's future. Fans should demand answers, sponsors should demand accountability, and the media should push harder because Clark deserves better. And fans won't stop until she gets it. So what do you think? Is this just a sloppy cover-up? Or are we staring at a full-blown investigation waiting to explode? Do you still trust the Fever when it comes to injury reporting? Let us know down in the comments below. Like, subscribe, and turn on all notifications so you never miss out. Click the video on the screen, and we will see you in the next one.